Well, hey, everybody. One of the most common questions that I get is what kind of alcoholic drinks, what kind of wine can I drink when I'm doing a low carb ketogenic diet? And of course, as a doctor, I don't recommend drinking a lot of alcohol. Obviously, alcohol can have a lot of health problems. However, what I was surprised to find out years ago is that wine actually, if it's done properly, if it's cultivated right and fermented properly, can actually be extremely healthy. And this is great news. That means that we can drink in moderation and actually improve our health. And so the wine that I drink, I'm going to go over in this podcast and I'm going to show you why I drink this wine. And so, first thing we got to realize is that there are many health benefits actually to drinking wine. These are well researched benefits. A lot of science out there about how it improves your triglyceride and lipid levels. It reduces your risk of dementia, reduces insulin resistance. So it actually can help improve blood sugar stability and insulin sensitivity, which also gets stress off of our blood vessels and allows us to have better circulation, helps control our blood sugar, which reduces our risk of heart disease and cancer. So a lot of good research that's out there. Now, again, this is drinking in moderation. This is not, drinking a bottle of wine every day. This might be drinking like one small glass a day, or, just a few times a week. Personally, I drink wine probably once, maybe at most twice a week, like maybe 2 glasses a week max. And I do that. My family, we celebrate a Sabbath, usually Friday night, which is really when Jesus celebrated the Sabbath. And we'll oftentimes have wine, we'll bless it and drink it. And we drink a certain type of wine that does not impact my blood sugar, that does not have additives and preservatives and things like that. And I feel great drinking it. There's no hangover. I just feel really, really good drinking it. And actually, I've seen on my continuous blood glucose monitor that actually helps control and stabilize my blood sugar levels as well. Now, there's a couple great benefits with wine, great nutrients, I should say. One is resveratrol, which is a polyphenolic bioflavonoid antioxidant that's produced in certain plants and found in foods and drinks. In particular, it's found in red wine, right? It's called the French paradox, right? In France, they drink a lot of red wine and people tend to live longer. And one of the reasons is because of this compound resveratrol. And that's really what got scientists to study it. They said there's got to be something going on here. And so they looked at the different compounds in red wine and they found resveratrol, and they found that it has a great impact at improving mitochondrial health, helps reduce oxidative stress throughout the body to support the immune system, our brain, skin, keeps inflammation under control, improves our circulation. So a lot of great benefits to it. And that we find in wine. We also have anthocyanins. So cyan in, I believe it's Spanish, means blue, right? And so basically, this is kind of a blue pigment or purplish pigment. And we find it in things like blueberries, red onions, grapes, purple broccoli and cauliflower, red cabbage, cherries, right? These things that have the kind of purplish or bluish sort of color to it. Red onions, another example of it. And so anthocyanins help protect against oxidative stress coming from radiation from the sun. That's why these plants have this. And we have that in our wine. We also have quercetin, right? Which is another powerful antioxidant that helps support our body. So these things are all great for the immune system, all great. They're all very chemoprotective and protect us against the formation of abnormal cells in our body, help balance out the histamine reaction. Anything fermented is going to increase the amount of histamine, but when we have things like quercetin and anthocyanins, as well as the resveratrol, helps balance that out. So some people that have histamine issues actually can do well with a good polyphenol rich red wine. Some of them can do that. Now, we also want to make sure it's got the right amount of alcohol in it. So typically when we're looking at alcohol, beer has about 5% alcohol. So a malt liquor, about 7%. Usually wine has roughly around 12% alcohol. However, it can actually range and it can be a lot more if there's no standardized values. You need third party testing to really tell. Okay. And then you've got, of course, different shots like whiskey and tequila that have about 40% alcohol. So you want third party testing, I think is really the key here when it comes to knowing how much alcohol you're consuming, right? Because if you're consuming a glass of red wine that is 16 or 17% alcohol, it's going to have a bigger effect than 12% alcohol, right? So you're going to get more of a buzz. You may not feel as good drinking that. So that's another important thing to consider. Now, also the whole wine process, your mainstream wines, they go through a crazy chemical cocktail to get them to be the final product. And oftentimes they're adding things like sugar in them as well. Here are some of the things that take place. There's a stabilization process where they'll use different stabilizers, and that's things like potassium, hydrogen, tartrate. They use yeast cell walls, different things like that, different chemicals in there. There's organoleptic management where they are used. This is used to control flavor and the taste profile. And so they use different enzymes and oak barrels and oak chips. So they're using that. There's filtration that takes place, which I think is good. Like, and to some degree, you need filtration. So that's charcoal filtration, but sometimes they use pasteurization, which can also be an issue where you damage, that's a high heat, you damage the actual polyphenols that are in the wine. So that can be an issue. Um, fermentation nutrients, antiseptic, antioxidants. So they're using different antiseptic compounds in there as well. Sulfur dioxide, potassium bisulfate. There is acidification, deacidification, hydrogen sulfide, enrichment. So there's just kind of this whole process that takes place that can cause a reduction in the overall nutrients. And then also normally when grapes are fermented to create wine, the bacteria break down all of the sugar and turn it into alcohol, right? And there's also polyphenols that are created from the fermentation process as well. So this is the way it's supposed to be, and it really shouldn't have any impact on your blood sugar. Otherwise, if there is, it's because it's not fully fermented, or they're adding in sugar. So they're actually adding more sugar back in, and this is common in the wine industry. So ultimately, what I want to see with the ideal wine is that it is as sugar-free as possible. So less than 1 gram per liter. Also should be really filtered for mycotoxins and tested for mycotoxins. So that's key. Organic and biodynamic. We obviously don't want a whole bunch of pesticides that are in there. And you actually want so what happens in your typical wine industry is that the roots don't go down very deep and they irrigate them. So they provide the water rather than allowing the roots to kind of grow and search for water. And so when the roots actually are allowed to grow deep into the soil and search for water, that actually creates a stronger, more stress resilient plant. And that's shown in the actual polyphenol count, right? Polyphenols are designed to help our body be resilient. Well, they're designed to help the plant, I should say. Originally, they're created in the plant to create resiliency from oxidative stress, from times of drought, things like that. And so when we allow them, and it's actually called dry farmed, you're not irrigating it. When that happens, the plant develops more polyphenols that are powerful for our health. Okay, so that's very important. You also want it to be done in small productions. Otherwise, again, you get a lot of these chemicals that are put in there. There's actually 76 chemical additives that are typically added in the wine industry. So you want to make sure your wine is third party tested to make sure it's not happening. Again, low carb friendly. You don't want gluten containing stabilizers, which are often used in the wine industry. So believe it or not, some wine is not gluten free, even though you think it's just fermented grapes. They use gluten stabilizers, no additives. Should be, standardized amount of alcohol, less than 12.5%. And so the company that I use actually tests all these different batches. So they actually look at older vineries that are 35 to 100 years old. That way they know that the roots had time to really grow deep. Okay. They make sure that they're not irrigated, and they actually test them to make sure that they're free of chemical additives, free of pesticides, that they're mycotoxin and mold free. That's important because, wine, just like, any sort of fermented thing, can develop mold and mycotoxins. So very important that they're testing that as well. A lot of people have major reactions to it. They make sure it's hand harvested. They make sure the alcohol content is stable at 12.5% or less. They make sure that, again, it's not going to impact your blood sugar and your insulin levels, right? So all of these things are very, very important. And they also make sure that it's delicious and it tastes good as well, which is, why we like to drink wine. So the brand is called Dry Farms Wine. And again, they don't actually make the wine. They're the third party that's testing all the wineries to make sure they fit the highest quality standards. And that is why I purchase from them, because I want to make sure, again, my wine is fitting in with the highest quality standards, that I know what I'm getting, that I know that it's going to be beneficial for my health, and it doesn't have the chemical compounds that will damage my health. And Dry Farms Wine has a special offer. And so you can find that in the link below, where you can actually get your first bottle for 1 cent, right? And you get free shipping as well. So you can go ahead and check that out and try out their wine. You can cancel your membership order. And that's how they do it, is it's kind of a membership where you get a stack of wines each month that have been fully tested, to make sure that they fit these standards. And so you can obviously cancel that at any time. But if you're a wine connoisseur, if you enjoy red wine, if you enjoy, sometimes they have some white wines. If you enjoy wine, you cannot go wrong with Dry Farms Wine. My family, we really enjoy it. And I've turned a lot of people onto it who love it as well. So anyways, check out that special offer from Dry Farms Wine. Hope you guys enjoyed this training. And, definitely give us a like. Share this with somebody that that enjoys wine, especially, we're around the holidays as we're recording this. It's a great time of year where people try to enjoy some of these types of things, but we want to make sure we're doing it in a healthy way. We're not getting the chemical additives. We're not getting things that impact our blood sugar, drive up our blood sugar and our insulin levels, not things that are loaded with mycotoxins. We want organic, biodynamic, polyphenolic rich wine that tastes good, that is enjoyable, and benefits our health when consumed in moderation. Okay. So check that out. Share this with somebody. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, so you get all of our new updates whenever we put a podcast or video online. And guys, we will see you soon. Everybody have a blessed holiday season.